Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to do an oil change on a TRX450R. They should all be pretty similar, but this one's a 2005 R model, so it's got the kick lever. Most of them seem to be ERs, but they should all be pretty similar. So what you're going to need is, of course, an oil pan. You need your new oil filter. I'm using a Hilo filter or high flow filter. 15 millimeter socket for the drain bolt, and then an 8 millimeter for the bolts on the oil filter housing there. I don't know if you guys can see, it's kind of dark down here, but right under the quad is the oil drain plug right there. So we're just going to stick our 14 millimeter wrench on that, loosen that up. So we pulled the oil drain plug, and oil is leaking to our pan here. Just make sure you try to catch the bolt. We got that there. Forgot to tell at the beginning of the vehicle, I had started this before we did this, so it's always good to start it up. Let it warm up a couple minutes before you start the oil change. Helps everything flow a little better. And I do loosen this cap just a bit. Seems like that also helps the oil flow through a little bit better. So we're just going to let that drain out for a couple minutes, and then we'll take off this oil filter. I'm going to cheat a little bit here with the drain plug. I got my impact here with my 8 millimeter on. So this one over here is a shorter bolt. This one over here is a longer bolt. Just kind of usually take the shorter one off first. On my Raptors, there's actually 3 of them, and the bottom one's like a drain bolt. You can undo it and drain the fluid out before you take out the filter, which is kind of nice. This one doesn't do that. Just gonna pop that loose, take this off. It actually tries to pop out at you a little bit. The cap will drop, so just kind of pull that out. There's our filter. So I just kind of set my filter into this little drain pan here. Make sure you take the spring. You're going to need to reuse that. Put it off to the side somewhere safe. I keep it with the bolts that you pull out of the housing. I clean the old oil out of this up a little bit. So you can choose to do that. It's not a huge deal. I always do. Then when you got your new oil filter out, it has the little O-rings, so your spring's going to go here on this side, and then I always kind of lube this up with some fresh oil on the other side before we put it back in. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little oil on that here. Alright, so I got a little fresh oil on our O-ring on the new filter. Cleaned out the old housing a little bit. Doesn't have a bunch of dirty oil in there. Another thing you can check is on the filter housing cap itself. There's an O-ring on there as well. I replaced mine on the last oil change. It looks pretty good still, but if it looks like it's getting a little flat, you might want to replace it because it will start to leak eventually. So you're just going to put the oil ring side with the O-ring down on the cap, and then our spring that we set aside, we're just going to put right there, and we're going to put it back on the housing. It can only go on one way, so don't be afraid. It won't fit on the other way. It only fits on one way, so you'll notice if you try to put it on and it's not matching up. We're just going to go ahead and install that now. Everything stays together pretty good too, so just kind of put it back in there. Get them started. That's pretty much it, guys. I'm going to tighten those down. I'm going to put my drain plug back in Then we're going to fill it up with oil. So let me tighten these up and put the drain plug back in, and then we'll fill it up with oil. So we got the housing bolted up nicely, drain plug bolted up nice and tight. Now it's time to fill it with oil. I removed the cap already. You just get your funnel, place it in there, and then we'll start the fill. If you can see, but there's a fill window here, and there's a low marker and a high marker. So we're just going to fill that up. Get it in between. I usually fill it towards the high side, because when you start the bike up anyways and cycle some of the oil through, it usually goes down slightly. So going up towards that high marker on the original fill isn't going to hurt anything. We're just slowly going to add some oil here. You'll watch that window kind of fill up. Doesn't take a lot in this, if I remember. It's really like a quart, maybe a little more than a quart. So as you can see, guys, I had filled the oil level initially just over the high marker, but once I ran the quad for 2 minutes, you can see it significantly dropped, so it's above the low marker but just barely. So I'm going to end up adding a little bit more oil just to get that level up a little higher in between the markers, but then you should be good to go. Thanks for watching.